right. So I'm using the record in this, but I'm also recording off an OBS just in case there's issues. So hopefully between the two of them, we'll capture it. If not, I'm sorry.
Look at you being a redundant IT professional.
We'll see how that goes. See if my laptop can handle it. It should be able to, but we'll see. So,
yeah.
All right.
If we see some smoke, then we know enough.
Well, hello everyone. We're starting officially right now. So we're doing a little different today. Like I said, we're doing Proton. So, but if you are here, welcome. Thanks for coming. This is exciting. This is our second one. We did one about a month ago. We're probably not going to keep that same cadence going forward, but we'll see where it goes. The idea behind this is just kind of supposed to be kind of a general open chat. I'm not going to be as crazy with the mics and stuff this time unless we have issues with it. So I'm going to trust that you guys can do this. You all can do this. If we have problems, we'll deal with it. But we're also using Proton for the first time, so let me know how that goes. They were nice enough to hook me up with a trial to kind of see what we think. We'll see where it goes. That said, helping me out today, we have a couple of people who are going to be kind of presenting alongside me. So Michael, who was with the first time, he and I are we decided kind of after the last one, we're going to just pair up. We're going to kind of co-host this every time. So I think that's going to work out. And then we got Tech Spence with us. He's gonna be chatting. So I gave you both brief introductions, but starting with Michael, you guys want to just kind of give like a 30-second, 1-minute rundown of yourselves and what you're all about?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Tyler. So Michael Waterman, I have been in the industry for 28 years. My current role is security architect. Have become an MVP 2 months ago, and I specialize in all things PKI. As a very fast introduction.
Wicked.
If you're not following his blog, you really should. He won't pitch it, but I 100% will because it's a gold mine.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So. Thank you.
Yeah, super good. Anytime Michael posts anything, I immediately open it in my browser and then save it so I can read it because I know it's going to be like long and detailed.
Are you like me? You save it and intend to read it, but always forget until a week later when Mike bugs you 3 times?
Yeah, because I see it and I'm like, this is a compendium of content. Like I can't just sit down and skim it.
I actually start my blogs now with an apology up front. So
an AI summary.
Yeah, kind of.
Which is great because I oftentimes am brief, because I'm posting on X a lot. So I'm like 100 characters post.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It also has its charm, right? Yeah.
All right, Spence, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? So I'm I like to say I'm a recovering sysadmin. I know there's many of us that probably use that same title. My buddy Jake Hildreth also, I think, uses that same moniker as well, but spent a lot of time in IT administration. And then I switched to security. And now I do pen testing, specifically internal pen testing, full time. And so Windows Active Directory, Microsoft Stack is kind of my core happy place and my core competency. That's what I do day to day outside of like podcast and content and like posting on the internet and stuff. So.
Yeah, and follow his YouTube. It's
Thanks.
good.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, Tyler.
I'm pulling up one of the other forum, the Q&A that we had people submit stuff to. I completely forgot to do that, so I have to edit the recording. So you guys don't see me pull up my email.
You don't want to introduce yourself, Tyler?
I will. Sorry, remember how I get distracted easily.
Mm-hmm. That's what we're here for.
That's right. You guys keep me on track. There it is. So, hi, I'm Tyler. I am the only MVP of the non-MVP of the presenters today. So those two guys have gotten the illustrious title, but that's okay because you guys know me. I've been moderating the Reddit community for a few years now. Took it over from Buckwheat a while ago. He actually reached out to me recently and said, hey, things have been going great. This is really exciting that you're doing meetups. So cool. See what else about me. I am a suffering sysadmin, so I'm not recovering. I still suffer through it daily. I work at healthcare, It's no secret which company I work for, but I don't usually just say it out loud in calls just because their legal doesn't like us saying that. So like, whatever, you can figure it out. It's not a secret. But I've been doing healthcare IT for most of my career, so I'm familiar with that. And it's interesting because I've done big enterprise, but we also have low budgets. So like I kind of see problems in a weird way. And I also, am one of those people that I advocate for doing things the right way, but I also acknowledge that that's not always an option. I would love to kill NTLM-V1. Like that would be my dream come true, to kill NTLM-V1. I can tell you the honest truth, it's not going to happen for me anytime soon. And that's not like me spinning up for like a topic discussion. I'm just telling you the truth. Like I got applications that are written in 1996. We're not getting off NTLM-V1 anytime soon.
Not before I retire, I guess. Which is still 17 years ahead, by the way.
Yeah. So yeah, been doing that for a bit. I'm on a bunch of different communities. But as always, I provide I'll have like a about me slide at some point, and if you guys ever want to reach out, just reach out. I'm on Discord, Pullman Gem. I go by that pretty much everywhere. So you find out Pullman Gem, there's like a 97% chance it's me. So I've only run into a couple others.
It's quite unique.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It goes back. It's from like my high school days. It was a joke, and it stuck. And
I thought maybe you were like a pool guy in a former life.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
No.
Cleaning pools, etc.
I barely like to swim. I can swim. I just, nope. It's, yeah.
Which, what I hear is quite a good business to be in. Like pool cleaning. Like it sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
is that like your second choice, Spence? Just in case.
Yeah, it's a fallback. It's a plan B. Right?
Okay. Yeah. No, so it's going to be
have
Pullman Jim and Pullman Spence, right? Okay. That's a match.
Yeah, sounds like a good enterprise.
It works. Yeah. No, it's funny because when I was in high school, my friend and I, we were in a FFA, which used to stand for Future Farmers of America, but it doesn't. Just stands for FFA anymore. And one of the things we were like coming up with this project, and it's like your project was like, what would your business be if you were like a farming corporation? And as a joke, instead of like naming it something reasonable, I wanted to name it like Acme Corn and Sewage. And the teacher did not like that. She's like, why? And I was like, it's like, we do our own fertilizer. She's like, that's so illegal.
Yeah, Dennis, being a sysadmin is like being a pool man. You're cleaning up the cesspool of technology. Yeah.
Oh, that's a strong one. Yeah.
All right. I need to pull up the chat. There it is. Cool. All right. So that's some introductions. So thank you guys for joining with us. And as always, I'm not sure if there's a raise your hand item in Proton. Like I said, it's new. There is. You have to click on the smiley face and it's there. So if you want to talk, if you want to show up on screen, answer a question, say anything, throw up your hand. That way we can just kind of give you a chance. I'm not going to unmute and mute everybody, hopefully. So if you want to do something, just throw up your hand so that we can call on you. That way it's not like chaos. But
Chris is on point here.
Chris has been a point. And Chris, I know you've asked, you've submitted to potentially present sometime. It's going to happen. We're balancing all the things out. I'm still getting used to this show, so we'll get there. So, all right. So, last time I did some icebreakers, and so I want to do at least a couple this time. So, Spence, this one's specifically for you because Mike failed last time. Mike, I keep calling you Mike. Do you like being called Mike, or is it Michael?
Whatever you want. I'm fine with either. Yeah.
Cool. All right. The crazy Dutch guy. Got
it. Thank you. Michael left the chat. Yeah.
All right. So I asked this to Mike last time, and he failed. So we're going to ask you, Spence, what are the Active Directory FSMO roles?
I wouldn't even be able to tell you.
I'm so glad that you can't as well. I felt ashamed the last time.
Yeah, no, I that's one I wouldn't even be able to begin to recite.
Yeah. I love that answer. I really do, because it's like my go-to interview question when I get when we have new people that we're interviewing for IT AD jobs, and like 9 out of 10. Like they always stumble on it, and I like it. It's a good question because if they answer, like if you're going to an AD interview, at least look that one up. FYI, just look it up beforehand. But we talk about what people do and don't know, and so far, I've not had many like who I would consider super smart people like you guys be able to answer it commonly, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. I think all of us have, I believe I told everybody last time. I always ask people, so can you tell me the lifetime of a Cabros ticket, right? And
Yeah.
it's similar as your question. And I think we all have this one specific question that we ask just to see what the response of the other party is. If they make things up, or honestly tell, I have no idea, but I can look it up, which is also a very good answer, in my opinion.
Yeah, one of
Dennis,
the
you nailed
things.
it. Depends. That's all right.
Yeah.
It depends.
It depends. Do you have pre-authentication, or sorry, not pre-authentication, authentication policies and silos that restrict the Kerberos ticket lifetime? Because then you can set it to almost whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
I like when I do interviews, or when I was interviewing for help desk and like IT jobs and security jobs, I would always follow that up with like a description of what I have done related to that. So, for example, I can't tell you what the FSMO roles are, but I have built and designed and engineered a quite sophisticated backup and recovery program, and had done that at my previous job when I was an IT admin. And we did an annual DR test where we recovered our bare metal DCs, like all of our application servers, our database servers. We recovered them at a colo, like a couple hours away. We would drive our LTO5 or whatever it was, tapes at the time, over to the site. We would restore our AS400. We would restore the tapes, and we would spin up our servers, bring back the DC, bring all of that back up. And we did that year after year after year. And we had a really good DR plan. And now, like, I'm actually helping a client on an engagement do that in my day job. So for people listening who are doing the interview, it's like I freeze up when I'm like, oh shoot, what are the FSMO roles? Like, what are these like things that are definition based? I just think back to the experience and kind of try to relate it to that. Of like, oh, here's something I've done related to that. I don't know that exact thing, but here's some like stuff that kind of backs up what my experience says or my resume says, for example.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because that's actually the conversation I was having after the last couple interviews we did. Was I don't really care about the right answer. I mean, it's cool if you can get the right answer. That tells me you studied or you know whatever. I care about like where your mind goes with that. Like, a lot of times I say I'm in an interview, I'm trying to generate conversation. Like, I want you to say something like, let's talk about that thing. You talked about LTO5. Like, man, I remember doing that stuff years ago, or, talk about BCR. I'm like, oh, I'm thinking of some of the stuff I've been doing with BCR. Like, like it generates those conversations, and that's what it's about. It's not about the geek trivia or nailing all the questions.
And
Michael,
it's trying to figure out. It's trying to figure out who the person in front of you is, right? How they think. If the experience they put on their resumes is genuine, and just have a conversation and see if you and him or her matches, right? So it's also about the people. It's not just technology.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Separating the people that kind of like give you a BS answer or try to like fake it, in an effort to not look like they don't know anything.
Yeah. Well, and that's an interesting, because we've caught several people who we can tell were reading AI responses. Like they were putting it in AI or having it transcribed, because there's apps that do that now, having it transcribed straight in AI and give them answers. And like, it's not about the answer. It's about the discussion. It's about where your mind goes. It's about,
exactly.
Like one of my go-to questions lately is, what is a certificate? Speaking of, 509, what is a certificate?
I can answer that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is a lot of people have an answer for that, because pretty much anybody who's encountered it at one point or another. You're like new to IT kind of person. They're going to give you kind of a generic answer, probably around like how like a basic version of like how TLS works or something like that. Whereas like Michael, you and I, for sure, I know, because we had the conversation, you and I can go into the weeds about what is a certificate, and and that's the differentiation. And so like little questions like that, it's not about a right or wrong answer. It's about kind of where it goes on that spectrum of information. So it's really cool.
What does that even mean, right? The right answer. The right answer is based on your experience. That's probably the right answer in your point of view. And somebody else can have a very different answer, but from their point of view, they're absolutely right. So what is the right answer?
Yeah.
Doing an interview.
Hashtag job tips from the AD subreddit. So, all right, another geek trivia question. What is the difference between a computer and a server object in AD? Give me a thumbs up in the community if you know that there is actually such thing as a server object. I love this one. This like nobody ever gets this one. Okay.
I'm waiting to read chat to read the answer. So guys, if you
I know I'm waiting for one of the big brains in chat, because I know there's a couple of you at least in here.
I feel like I've seen that before, but I don't remember in what situation. Server object.
The thumb in the UI is in if you click on the smiley face. So on the far right will be the hands up, and on the left is the normal reactions type thing.
Okay, you got me. I have no idea what the difference is.
All right, so there is a difference. So computer objects are typical computer objects. So this is what we're thinking of. You think of any computer joined to the domain, computer object. Server objects only created alongside domain controllers, and they're created in the configuration partition. They exist to tie the computer object to the site object.
So it's only applicable for DCs. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Okay. I was thinking about servers in the broader sense of the word.
Yep. Gotcha. Kind of a trick question. Like I said, it's just a random question. I love throwing that out there because it's like I love the reactions you get from people are really interesting. So.
Paul likes it. Yeah.
So, all right. Let's see. All right. So this is kind of building into today's kind of overall discussion a little bit. One more kind of icebreaker question, and obviously this one's going to generate a lot of information. Ready? What is Zero Trust?
It's a product, obviously.
Dude. Well, depends on who you talk to. I've seen account managers who said, "Yeah, Zero Trust is a product that we have." It's a philosophy. I think that would be the appropriate answer.
Yeah, the cliche answer I think is like it's a methodology or a principle, set of principles, a framework, a way of life, a religion for some, maybe even.
That's fair.
Thanks, Chris.
I like that. Yeah.
One of the core tenets, though, of Zero Trust is assume breach, and that's like my bread and butter. Like that's what I preach all the time: is assume breach, assume breach, assume breach. Assume that stuff will get compromised. Assume that stuff will be broken into. Controls will not work or fail or whatever else. I think that's like a very foundational aspect of it for me. And obviously, I'm biased.
So you're telling me my EDR is not perfect, even if I buy the multi-million-dollar
not
one
even
that's got
close.
The color red all over it.
Close.
Oh, now you're getting the EDR now. Yeah, it's crazy because I think vendors are partially to blame for this, right? Like with the marketing and how they position things and sell things. But yeah, I think Zero Trust has become popular because of that, right? Like because we know things can fail. And especially now with AI, like people, you should trust even less of the things that you're running and less of your infrastructure and your applications now more than ever. And Zero Trust is kind of gotten a bad rap, I feel like, because it's been like this nebulous cliche, like general thing. But the principles are sound. Like the principles are very tried and true and sound.
I mean, it's been in the AD security stuff for ages. You know, if you think about the old, getting a little ahead of ourselves, but like the ESAE stuff, it was always about clean source. And that's Zero Trust before Zero Trust was really kind of coined. It's always about clean source. Red Forest, ESAE, Red Forest, I use the...
Yeah, what I always tell my customers when I end up in this discussion is that our jobs is no longer to keep people out. Our jobs is now to make life as hard as possible for them, because having the philosophy of keeping people out just doesn't work. Have we seen that all over the place? So yeah, I think that's in line with assume breach as well.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And I like this, this question, because like depends on which vendor you ask. I think I saw some out in the chat. Any vendor you ask is going to give you a different answer. Oh, buy this thing, do this thing, do that thing. How do you secure AD? Well, you got to go buy my product to secure AD. But I know, Spence, I know one of your first like posts or kind of big thing, like here's some tools and here's some techniques of securing AD that aren't expensive. They're not, and like most of it is not. You can secure an AD pretty decent without spending $1.
Yeah,
if you just put the effort into it. No, I mean there's a lot to that.
From a license point of view, yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, thinking of like buying other things.
Yeah.
Most companies treat. Good.
I was just gonna say one of the biggest mistakes I see people making is they go out to the market looking for a XYZ product, right? And they don't think about what problem they're trying to solve. They're like, well, we want zero trust. It's like, well, what problems are we actually trying to solve? Like, what does our environment look like? What is the workflows that our users have look like? Like, what are we trying to solve for? And then matching, capabilities or features of the products that are on the market to that. A lot of people get it backwards. They're just looking for an MFA product or a, microsegmentation product or a zero trust product. And they end up falling for that trap because the vendor's just like, yeah, we do that. Yeah, we do all that. That's cool. Like that, we do that. We do that. And it should be in reverse, right? Like look at what you're trying to solve and match the features to that.
Yeah, especially I wrote about this a while ago. My conditional access on-prem you never knew you had, right? And it's a piece of technology that's been there for like 25 plus years now. And I rarely see somebody uses it. And when it comes down to a red forest with IPsec and stuff, it's used all over the place, but not that many companies use that or use it anymore. So it's a lot of preventative measures are already in Windows. You just have to use them before looking at another product.
Yeah, I've always said that like a lot of these security concepts and topics are not taught like to IT admins unless you are at a place and you work somebody like Tyler, like Michael, and you have like mentorship and people who have done these things before. A lot of times these IT admins, these IT folks, sysadmins and stuff don't learn about these concepts until like security comes. They're like, hey, you need to do a pen test or an audit. And then they're like, zero trust, I've never heard of it. Lapse, I don't even know what that is. Yeah. And a lot of these security concepts are IT first, really. Like these are foundational IT elements that security has had to adopt because security has been such an important thing lately. And like the big security boom of cybersecurity.
And the problem here is that within 5 to 10 years, because of artificial intelligence, we will not have this new wave of people coming in because we're not hiring juniors anymore. If we're not hiring juniors anymore, how on earth do you expect people to learn? And AI isn't the answer here because AI makes a lot of mistakes. Especially when you go down into technology that's not very common, and you ask a question. I know because PKI isn't the strong point of AI. I've noticed. Then you will make mistakes, and who will replace us at the end of the day? Again, AI is not the answer here. So we need people coming into the industry and learn from messing things up and troubleshooting and fixing things. That's the way you learn.
Yeah, I mean, there's some truth to, I think that there's a bubble that's going to pop in some way with that. But the question is when's it going to happen and what's it going to look like? I think AI in some capacity is here to stay. I don't think it's going to just disappear overnight.
No, it's not going away. No, it's not going away.
The price model is going to be, it's interesting how they're going to figure out how to make it affordable because right now it's a money pit. But anyway, So, the zero trust thing is always an interesting thing because everybody has their own version of that, and it kind of bounces around a little bit. So I always enjoy that question and just kind of trying to figure out where people think about it, because you're absolutely right, guys. It's kind of become a marketing term. It's a buzzword, and we like to throw it around, but really, when it comes down to it, what does zero trust mean? It kind of depends on how your company's defining it that day. Kind of like I've asked before, what does privilege mean? Because depending on your audit report, privilege actually means something different. If you look strictly from some, like the typical thing we're talking privilege mean anybody who can do administrative stuff. But I know SOC 2, for example, anybody who can create a user account is considered privileged. So it's very, Craig, I saw the more than read access. That's actually probably what privilege is more than read access. That's fair.
Yeah, he's got a good.
Go ahead, Spence. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Michael. I'll go after you.
So the focus in Active Directory when you talk privilege, it's usually domain admins, period. But there's so much more that can do all kinds of stuff within Active Directory, server admins or backup operators. Not forgetting schema admins. And when I do an audit, for example, for some reason, all these groups are filled with a lot of identities which should not be there. Like schema admins. Why on earth is every domain admin in the schema admins, right? And Spence, you probably see the same everywhere.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. Well, before that, I didn't want to forget Craig's comment about like how companies focus on training, focus on the new thing. Like everybody's focused on cloud and Entra and like training people on the new thing, bringing people on the new thing, that they forget the AD stuff or the stuff that's still there that they need skills to administer. That's 100% true. I see that all the time. But also, I feel bad calling, attack paths because I think it's a little bit misleading. Like domain users directly to domain admin or some like crazy like multi path like attack kind of thing. It could just be like everyone has full control over the root of the domain.
Yeah.
Like that's bad. Like that's clearly an attack path, but it's more than that, right? It's like it's a control path, and like in Ping Castle they say control path. In like some of the other literature that you look at, they use other language for that. But it's like a privilege. It's privilege creep. It's a breakdown in privilege. I oftentimes refer to it as just like a breakdown in least privilege, because like least privilege is something that most IT people know, like zero trust and like all this other stuff they maybe aren't as familiar with, but everybody kind of knows least privilege. So that's how I kind of communicate it sometimes, is like, hey, this accounting group over here can control this group policy, and this group policy is being applied to your domain controllers. And so I can create a scheduled task on that domain controller and like own the whole thing.
And at the end of the day, least privilege is the essence of zero trust.
Yeah.
Right. So if you start there, at least you can move towards zero trust, whatever that implies. But I think that's a good start. Yeah.
Well, now is the part of things, we're kind of out of the icebreakers and my general questions. So there are looks like 9 responses that were submitted via the form. So I'm going to try to go through some of those. But also, if anybody in the community chat, whatever, has a question, 100%, throw up your hand, ask it, or put it in chat, and we'll try to grab it. If you have a good response to any of this, feel free to throw your hand up and we can get you in here. It does not have to be the 3 of us chatting. It can be anybody who wants to join and be part of the discussion. So that said, as I put the form out, there was an AI section in there. That is not for today's discussion. I'm not going to cover a lot of AI stuff. I mean, obviously, you can't say 5 things about IT anymore without talking about AI. But the reasoning for that is we've been talking about kind of having more of like where does AI fit into the identity stuff. And I kind of was curious what people were thinking, because it also helps me find some resources of somebody who might actually be able to speak to it more, because I'm not an expert in AI. I don't know many people who actually really are. Anybody who says they are is probably pulling your string a little bit. So anyway, so there's a whole bunch of questions and stuff, and I'm going to try to go through them. We've kind of touched on some of it a little bit, and there's some really, really detailed, deep questions. I can't promise we'll hit any of those. I am keeping track of all of it from stuff, and eventually we'll speak on it, or I'll start. I might even do like some like YouTube shorts or something like that to answer some of it every now and then, just because these are great questions. So starting from the top here, and I think we kind of already covered this a little bit, but I wanted to put it out there. So the question was, why don't more IT teams use built-in security features like fine-grained password policies, GMSAs, authentication policies, and silos? And Spins, I think you kind of already touched on it, is nobody told them to. Like, they don't know. Specifically with authentication policies and silos, Microsoft did not advertise those features at all. Like, none.
Yeah, I noticed the same when I was still at Microsoft 10 years ago. We had these trainings that we provided for our premier customers, right? And we would do a deep dive, and we would tell everybody about all the tools and features that became available in the new operating system, the server operating system, the client operating system. But on the outside, there was very little talk about all the new security features that were out there and how to actually use them. You would have to go to, what was it called back in the days, TechNet or MSDN forums or whatever, or the blogs of the individual premier field engineers that would write about the new features, but you had to know about the feature before you could find them. And somebody commented on the Windows firewall, wf.msc, and it can, for example, it can do so much more than just be a dumb firewall, right? But there aren't many blogs or TechNet articles or articles in general that talk about this specific one, because as stated before, we only talk about the new stuff, AI and cloud but Active Directory or On-Prem is here to stay for a long time, at least in my honest opinion. And what we're seeing now is the shift back from cloud to On-Prem because of cost. In the past, we went to cloud because of cost, and now we're going back for certain workloads at least. And those workloads need to be authenticated in some way or form. And in my opinion, that's Active Directory, at least for now. So yeah, I think we should focus more, and that's the goal of my write-ups at least, is to educate people and getting the knowledge out there. That knowledge is all running around in my head at 3 o'clock at night. But I'm trying to get it out and written down on paper, and I'm glad to see that a lot of people share that interest. So yeah, at least
you dream in PowerShell, Michael. Do you dream in PowerShell?
Yeah, sometimes, and I sometimes I even dream in German, because my current project is 90% with German people. So I think Paul can relate to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think part of it's like what Michael said. I think Microsoft as a vendor hasn't done a good job communicating these new features. They put them out in a blog post when they released them, but we're talking about like stuff that's been introduced in 2008, R2, 2012, functional level. Like these are older features that Microsoft, rightfully so, like is not going to be blogging about in 2026, right? And that's part of it, is like they have obviously shifted focus and attention to the recurring business model of Entra and Azure and all the cloud stuff. And a lot of this is forgotten, and it's not tribal, if it's not been carried on through tribal knowledge and like mentorship in traditional IT departments and stuff, and most people don't know about it. And the other thing too is, and I see this a lot, is there's a lot of old environments still out there, like 2012 functional level, like barely have their environment on 2012. I see them all the time. And, when you upgrade a functional level, it's not like you get a README file like, here's all the new security features, and like that would be great, but it just doesn't happen. So yeah, there's a handful of reasons why that is. But I think the cloud and lack of tribal knowledge is a big part of that.
Yeah, and just looking at Active Directory, that's very true. And try stepping into my world of PKI, right? Then it becomes even more difficult to find the information that you actually need, because when you search for PKI, you end up from articles of server 2003, for example, like a long time ago, and you see enhancements in 2008 and 2012, and then it stops up until 2025. So yeah, it's difficult. So I can imagine that people can't even find information about the technology, let alone know that it exists, and how to configure it and how to actually use it.
Yeah. All right, Brian, I saw your camera come on first, so I assume you have something you want to say. So
yeah, I think David. A big issue I'm seeing too is just in the business itself. Many organizations just mentioned the zero trust thought process of staying current and going cloud first. That's still the mindset of a lot of different executives. Another big challenge I see is around Active Directory expertise. The best ran Active Directories I've seen, or they have very tenured employees that have focused on that identity vertical. So many people do much job rotations, they can never even truly articulate what Kerberos even is, because after 2 years, they're moving up into a different position. So it's a real concern because AI is taking over. It's able to make us all do more, but we're not training people up with the muscles where they can even see or say when things are wrong. So that's a concern I always have. AD is not going anywhere. I'm seeing a shift where some of my larger customers plan to be off of AD in 2028, 2029. I think they haven't even identified the application dependencies, so they're a little crazy there. But on the flip side, I'm seeing more and more organizations like coming back from a cost perspective. Unfortunately, with AI identifying more different vulnerabilities, the ability to stay current is extremely challenging. Microsoft's pushing a lot of different updates that are breaking security products because of incompatibility type stuff. So it's a weird state that we're in right now. But I think leadership who does not necessarily understand, they check a box for their security program. That's the thing, as an AD practitioner, we have to explain how it's different. And unfortunately, if they think that it's going to go away, they don't want to invest that thing. They just want to go towards this new shiny thing in the future.
Yeah.
So we got to educate. It's up to us to educate our leadership.
Yeah, and they have to realize that, and I think everybody in this call realizes that, is when you check a box, we're talking about compliancy. Compliancy does not indicate security, period.
All right, David, what do you got for us?
Hi, guys. I believe I have another reason that has not been mentioned yet. And I think we also discussed it last time. And that's from my experience. And I have talked to like maybe 60, 70 different IT teams, let's say different companies. And it was usually the same, that those administrators that are there don't believe and they don't think it's actually their job to secure AD. Like if you mentioned specifically like authentication policies, app locker, or fine-grained password policies, they know it's somewhere there, but they don't think it's their job to actually implement things like this, because it was always about making it run, like the operational side of things. So just make AD run. It has to be 24/7 running. And I think that was their job all the time. And now it kind of changed to the fact that, of course, cybersecurity is more important, and we want these things from same guys who are not used to it. And Michael already told it before, that there are no new people, or not many new people, that would like replace these guys or help them, let's say. So it's kind of one problem hand in hand with others. So that's just my point of view that I wanted to share.
Have you seen that Spider-Man meme where it's like this 3 different Spider-Mans like all pointing at each other?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like everybody's waiting for somebody else to do it. Everybody's waiting for somebody else to own up and take the responsibility and do it. And here's a career hack: be the one that steps up and does the thing, and you will excel beyond your wildest dreams. But everybody's like looking for somebody else to do it, or like, oh, it's security's job, or it's endpoint's team, or whatever.
Yeah, and it's a very dangerous situation, right? Because the AD guy knows about AD, but the security guy is usually not so much into AD, you know? So it's kind of difficult to actually implement anything, because from my point of view, it's not like security, it's just best practices, how vendor says it should be implemented. It's not about like security, it's how it should be. So I think it's like for the AD guy actually, but it's kind of the differentiation that we do here, like between security and other things.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I mean, I know several pen testers, or even my red teams I've worked with internally, who can tell me about how a golden ticket attack is performed, but they can't tell me how Kerberos works.
That's crazy.
Like they don't understand, and I've actually had, and I think it's actually I had a conversation recently with somebody he's a brilliant hacker. I'm going to say that, like, he's a brilliant like pen tester, but like he's like, well, why won't companies do some of these things? And it's like, because there's business that gets in the way. I said it as kind of tongue in cheek recently, like, if you think about the reality behind a lot of security in organizations, they are going to look at it from a cost benefit. It's not going to be about hardening it because it's insecure. It's going to be, well, is it cheaper for me to just pay out the insurance?
Yeah, that's one side of the story. I do think that upper management needs to be aware of the risk they're taking, and there's a differentiation between people who know how to talk at board levels and people who know how to talk technology. And in my experience, the people that know both are very rare. And translating the technical challenges that you see to organizational challenges up to higher management, translating into risk that they actually understand. So not the bits and bytes, but it's going to cost you money, because that's a very different story there. And that usually it helps if you have like a program manager or somebody in that order of magnitude that understands what you're talking about and can translate it into something that the board understands, and then you get funding, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah, that's the hardest part, right? Is like you can find these issues in AD, you can learn about these new features and stuff, but if you work in any kind of size really that has multiple teams, particularly IT teams especially, or if your environment is particularly sensitive to change, right? Then you can know the technology all you want up and down, but if you can't translate it, like you guys were saying, if you can't translate it into what that means to the business, then like you probably just won't get those projects pushed through.
Yeah, I had a director, it was a couple of years ago, where a company where we did a security assessment for, we written down the report, etc. And I was in a conversation with him. We were talking about the primary identity source, AD, and he said to me, "What about just turning it off? Like, really?" So there's some work to be done in that area as well, and that's something that we as technical people sometimes just forget. Did Tyler go away?
Yeah, he wrote something in the chat that he has
he wrote
to...
something in the chat. Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah. He said he will be right back. So, but we have Dennis who is...
Go ahead, David.
No, that just Dennis has his hands on, so I thought he wanted to say something.
Oh, Dennis, yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to echo the conversation that, like, I don't know that it's necessarily a problem that's unique to AD either, right? Most of what we're talking about here from a business translation and risk and so forth. I think what the unique part about AD or even really any identity system is how foundational it is, because it's sort of the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain that most people don't understand. And so the more complex your organization is, the more things you have to get lined up, right? That's
true.
That's, I think, and then you you have a platform where the understanding is fading, and the impact of these things in the platform are less understood. I'll pick on Brian because I know him, right? But that's why you also see a lot of vendors in the market trying to enter this space, right? The Venn diagram of overlapping identity tools at this point is just a bird's nest in the market, right? But it's a complex subject that you need someone with an engineering background and a broader business context to be able to explain, and it's ultimately a governance issue, right? I was talking to a friend of mine at Microsoft, and we were talking about something with how they've gone like full passwordless internally, and I was like, that would be nice. What did you do about LDAP? And he said, oh, we just got rid of it. And I'm like, well, that would be fantastic or something. I was like,
how?
Yeah, right. I'm like, if I could wake up one day and be like, get rid of LDAP applications to make authentication better, I was like, that would be wonderful. But that
did you just vibe code a replacement?
Yeah.
They probably did.
Yeah, if you could see my face at that right now, but but it's ultimately a business push, right? And there's a level of top down, that it all gets down to, and it's hard because not only are you aligning like a strategy and a whatnot, if you've got a larger organization, you have an architecture team, and you have to get them fully on board to understand when they're vetting these things, like why you can't do it, and so many people don't even understand how things authenticate. I'm sure everyone who's been an AD admin has had the app guy come up and be like, AD's broken, I can't authenticate. What account, dude? What's your connection string? Like, so now we got to get app teams to understand like why LDAP is bad, so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And documentation, right? Like it's always missing. Why is this group policy here? I don't know. It's been here for ages. What does it do? I don't know. Shall we disable it? And then
Yeah, well, I've had a lot of coworkers and mentees over the years who kind of have this assumption that everybody understands technology or understands like how their application uses the technology. And the reality is most people don't. And I don't think we should expect them to sometimes. I mean, it's one thing to like, you should know what your application requires, but like, if your application authenticates over LDAP, I don't expect you to know the first thing about LDAP. So what's up, Craig?
No, kind of going back to what you said there. So I really got into understanding how Active Directory worked when I started doing migrations. When you start doing like migrations for companies, you can not understand how applications authenticate. You have to force yourself to learn how the applications authenticate. And this was really when I got really good at understanding how Active Directory truly works under the hood. And until you've gone through like a real migration from one AD domain to another AD domain and start moving applications, you won't fully understand it.
Trial by fire, right? It's like until you've gone through an incident, or
absolutely,
you had to recover prod or do a migration or do like a merger and like join companies. Until you've gone through that, like the trial by fire stuff, you don't have the same appreciation, right, for it and understanding for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. Just do it.
Or wreck your active, or wreck your Active Directory schema, and then have to try to recover. Not saying that's ever happened.
Yeah, we all have that point, I think, where like we're in a situation and you have that push. I mean, like it's usually like a almost like a defining moment. Like I remember the first time I had to make a decision, like, is this going to work or is this not going to work? And like whole room looking at me, and I had to make the call. And it's like, you have these moments where it kind of defines, like you become like a real sysadmin, I guess. I know it's almost like gatekeeping, but that's your moment when you finally earn your stripes, so to speak. So it's pretty defining. All right, so I want to get through a few of these other questions. I always hate like slowing down and stopping conversation because this is good stuff. Like, this is the kind of thing we don't get enough as a community at large, because most of us are the one guy who knows AD in our company. So we don't really talk to a lot of people about things. Let's see. What are the most common Active Directory security weaknesses you still encounter in mature enterprises today? That was a question that was out there.
Well, I think if you just run ping castle on a couple of AD domains, you have your answer, right? It's misconfiguration. It's a lot of legacy. Domain admins all over the place. Users having too many user rights. I think that about sums it up.
Yeah, you missed certificates.
Well, yeah, they're talking AD specifically, but ADCS. Yeah, what I see in certificate land is that ADCS is hardly thought about. ADCS is a technology, but it's not about the technology. ADCS is 90% processes defining upfront what you want to do. Talking about business cases, right? We talked about business cases a few moments ago. So what on earth are you going to do with ADCS in the first place? Is it like server authentication certificates for web servers? Are you going to authenticate your users or your computers? What's the goal here? And every time I do an assessment and there's ADCS there, nobody knows who's the owner of that product. Probably IT in general. How is it set up? Well, next finish, and it's working, right? It serves certificates. Okay, and what's your renewal plan? And I hear crickets. Like, renewal for what? The certificate is set for, I don't know, 30 years, 20 years, and why? Why such a long time? And nobody can answer that. So ADCS is a beast. It's very easy to set up.
You're telling me if you get on there and I see a bunch of the default templates still being issued, because that's what ADCS install does out of the box.
Yep.
I should be
and
concerned.
Then it just poof, everybody gets a certificate. Your domain controllers get certificate if you do a default install. I wrote an extensive blog on selection criteria for domain controller certificates. And what I've noticed in responses and offline responses, email, is that not a lot of people actually know what these certificates do and how to manage them and etc. And that's just domain controllers. And most of us have familiarity with domain controllers, right? We know what they do. Let's not get into cross-signing, for example, what that actually is and how it works. And yeah, it's really hard, especially getting I currently am doing a project at a customer, and one of the 3 items that is a task for me is getting their ADCS under control, because it's unstable. So I was going there with the intention of finding a technology part that was unstable. It's not. There's actually a design. It's implemented. It's really not that bad. If I would give it a number, it would be 7 out of 10. But it's the process that's missing. There's nothing that's written down. It's managed by one guy, and that's the problem. Not the technology part, the process part. So why do we have ADCS? They're very dependent on it, but it's not managed in that respect.
It's funny because when I think of AD, I think of like everything within AD, like group policy and ADCS and WSUS and SCCM and like all the components of that could be of Active Directory. And it's funny because I know some people think like Active Directory is just Active Directory, and then ADCS is ADCS, and it's just funny.
I see where you're going. Yeah. I think my problem here is that I have a very specific focus on ADCS, right? And for me, AD is mostly that. But AD, as you mentioned, is far broader than that. Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah.
So, Spence, what's the most common vuln that you see? I mean, you're like a pretend bad guy. So, what do you pick up on?
Yeah, definitely. I would say since 2021, when that SpectreOps research came out about certificates, that has been a big player in pretty much all the internal pen tests I do. There's some sort of ADCS misconfig. The common ones are ESC8 and ESC1. Those are probably the top two. And then ESC4 and 5 follow closely behind, I would say. But beyond ADCS, a lot of the other common issues are stuff that we've already talked about and stuff Michael's already mentioned. Shares, both insecure share permissions and credentials on file shares. That's a big one. Like IT people, end users, etc. So I would say credentials is probably one of the biggest, most common findings we see, because if you look hard enough and you're in the environment long enough, you will find credentials somewhere. It's just the nature of human beings. Like we write things down and we save things and we forget to delete them, and IT admins especially.
Yeah, I think I remember you put like a LinkedIn post out a couple of years ago, and the question was like, "Hey, do you guys have any other ideas of where I could find credentials on a system, just out of curiosity?" And I said, check their Open Notepad and Open Obsidian, because I'm guilty of it too. Is like I'll type out a password and I'll copy it, and I'll just close Notepad. Well, if it's kept in memory, I just open Notepad and use the password. Yeah, so like you don't know what it's to, maybe, but
Yep. There's also the clipboard history. So this clipboard history exists in Windows 10, but it's not enabled by default, I don't think. But in Windows 11, it's enabled by default. So if you do Windows key V, you see everything in your clipboard that you've copied. It could be images, text, URLs, whatever. And I just noticed it again today, and I'm like, shoot, I don't have that turned off yet. And sure enough, like I just saw everything that I had copied, like passwords I had copied, screenshots I had taken that I had copied to my clipboard. It's like, holy crap.
That angry email you started to type to somebody that
yeah.
I'm not going to do that.
One of the wildest places I've seen passwords, though, is in Outlook, you have your contacts. Well, within the contacts, you can like enter stuff. Well, one of the users had put passwords in the notes field or whatever the field was in their Outlook contacts. Like, don't ask me why, but they were using their Outlook contacts as a password manager. Like,
why? There's so many like use Bitwarden. It's free. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even Notepad is better than Outlook at that point, arguably.
Yeah.
Use Base64. It's encryption, right?
Wild.
Yeah. Tyler has left the conversation here.
Yeah, AD description attributes is a big one.
Still? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, still look for that. Still find it from time to time. That's actually a good honeypot deception technique, in my opinion, is put a password in like a description of an account and put it on like a real account or something, or a valid account that looks normal, like looks believable or whatever. And sure enough, a pen tester, threat actors will try to use that password for that account. And it's a great deception technique, I think.
Yeah. And if you don't know your password anymore, just ask a recall, right?
Yeah. And especially if you don't make it like password, like make it believable, like make it like realistic, because the thing is like, we can't resist that. Like we know it could be fake, like it could be, but if it looks like maybe it's like a service account or potentially like an admin or an IT account, it's like, it's so attractive of a target that most often it will not be overlooked.
Yeah. Well, what I also see on a frequent basis is when you're talking about passwords, that triggered me, is passwords in GPOs, which have never been cleaned up. Is that something that you see on your side as well? Because I see them like in every, 1 out of 10 assessments that I do.
Yeah. I think password hygiene, policy hygiene is also a big issue. It's less like exploitable directly from my perspective as a threat actor, because like if the password policy is weak, then yes, it's like a finding. but I still have to find a credential. I still have to find a password that works and kind of thing. So not like directly exploitable, but definitely a big issue that I see often.
Yeah, and what was it again? Domain admins that are synchronized to Entra. I see that all over the place.
Yep.
Like why the best practice or recommendation is not to do that. Yeah, but it's so easy. Yeah,
well,
right.
That's another one that people just don't really. They misunderstand the risk of it. Like they're just like, well, why shouldn't I? This is my admin account, or this is how I do administration. Why shouldn't I be in global admins? So they don't really understand the risk of it until you kind of describe it to them or show them, articulate it.
Yeah, and again, it comes down to our earlier
came up recently.
Yeah,
that question came up recently in the subreddit, and it was actually a really good discussion because if you look at so many things, there's actually kind of the expectation that all accounts, including privileged ones, are synced. If you look at like the way Microsoft talks about things, but we all know that you really shouldn't sync domain admin accounts, or at least those of us kind of looking at it now. And so it's an interesting challenge, and it's something I've kind of sit there and scratched my head out because like passkeys. Everybody talks about passkeys. Well, how do I use a passkey with a domain admin account that can't be synced? Granted, I know there's YubiKeys and other things, but like the company is going to be. Well, but you're right. But the company is going to be pushing a lot more for passkeys. Security teams are pushing for passkeys, but they don't have the PKI infrastructure to handle it.
Yeah, true. But at the end of the day, when we're talking about passkeys is not something new, right? It's all based on public key infrastructure, and it's a public key that's stored somewhere, and you have a private key that you authenticate against. Hey, this is really me, because at the end of the day, what the IDP does is sends you a challenge. You apply to that challenge, and then you're in. Same applies for certificates. So it's not something new. It is far better manageable. I think that's a big difference there.
Yeah. Andy, the recommendation from Microsoft still is that admin accounts should not be synced to Entra. There are some exceptions to that because of how some applications work. Some of the Exchange stuff kind of almost requires it sometimes, but your super privileged, super admin, so domain admin, etc., pretty much never should be. Your tier one, like your server admins, probably not. Workstation admins, that one gets a little bit blurrier because of like the hybrid join and stuff like that sometimes. And I think, to kind of cover that topic a little bit, because that does seem to kind of generate a lot of question. The reasoning behind don't sync them, it's not because Entra is any more or less secure than AD in that sense. It's that you don't want to accidentally have control for administrative rights in both identity stores. So I don't want an on-prem admin who has ability to make changes in Entra. I don't want an Entra admin who's got the ability to make changes in AD. And I know that's basically impossible to not have. There's some crossover these days, but that's why you don't do the sync.
Yep.
I covered that right?
And the lateral movement really from on-prem to Entra and vice versa, right? So like it's both administrative and a security control at that point for that reason.
Yep. Yeah, and especially looking at how vulnerable most Active Directory environments are. If you compromise that, it's easy to jump to the cloud environment. Mm-hmm. So I think that's one of the major reasons not to synchronize your.
Yeah, something I know some IT admins do is they will when they need to use their global admin account, they will fire up like a private browser session on their machine, and they'll log in with their global admin account, and then they'll do their work and kind of sign out of it and close the browser, and everything's hunky-dory from that standpoint. Some recommend, and I'm curious where you guys stand on this, some recommend additional like PAWs or something like that where you do your administrative work from. Ideally would be great. It could be a VM, as simple as that. That obviously has its complexities. But there are ways to do this that mitigate some of the risk, right, of compromise.
Yeah, we talked about at least Tyler and I talked about PAWs a while ago, and I do believe that takes away the risk of credential leaks in what form. So yeah, I'm a big fan of using, well, at least when you look at PAWs, it can be very complex, right? But at the end of the day, it's just using a single different machine for your admin work. If you do that, you've won 80%.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good question, Brian. Do we use a separate PAW for Entra and AD?
The most secure organizations I've seen, they do, but there's added expense, and the business is always like that. But if you're doing it right, probably.
The question then becomes like, are you using a clean source for those? Because that gets back all the way to like, do you have a PAW, and are those PAWs being managed by the same infrastructure that you're administering or securing, kind of thing? Like, are those out of band? Yep. Like, is it clean source? All that.
The best run Active Directory that I've seen, the guy has been there for 25 years. He owns it. And when security was trying to push down their policies of you need to do this, this, and this, he had the political capital to push back, saying, no, this is mine. I'm tier 0. And he was able to explain that and push back to his leadership to be able to happen. That's what makes success, but very few organizations have people acquire the political capital to be able to push back on their leadership and tell them no.
Oh, yeah. I've only won a few of those fights. Dennis, if you want to hop in, go for it.
Yeah, I was just, well, I forget what I was going to say now, but it was mostly about, we were started on PAWs and then went down another track. But I would say, like, from my experience, right, it's interesting when you have the Active Directory operations team as a member of security, because then you are more of a stakeholder in some of those configurations as well. And so, yeah, I also get stupid things where people will tell me to do something and I'll say, make me. And so,
or I like to say, as a shareholder in a company, I think that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Nice.
Use that one a couple of times. Or in healthcare, as a person who is a patient of this organization, I think this is a bad idea. But no, I've seen a lot of people in chat, like, and it's funny because we like PAWs just kind of came up as just like a side thing, and everybody wants to talk about PAWs, and it's such a detailed thing, and I love the conversation because even last time we talked about it some, and I kind of threw out there what's the difference between a secure jump host and a PAW, and which one's better, which one's worse, and there's some debate about it. I think it's good. I think that one of the things I like, about kind of these community discussions is it gives us the opportunity to not just say this is the right thing or the wrong thing, but it gives us the opportunity to debate how that right or wrong thing should work, because Microsoft gets it wrong sometimes. And, we don't want to have a myopic perspective about how to secure things. I think at the end of the day, I think, with just to throw out there for PAWs are great. If you're working towards PAWs, it may not be perfect, but keep working towards it. Get better. Make good choices. Make choices that matter. Of course, don't just like, I'll just have a random laptop for it. But make good choices for it and work towards that direction. And you'll be doing better than a lot of places. Baselines.
Yeah, and it's
you
like
don't have to go full CIS. Yeah, good.
Incremental improvements are still improvements, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Better than no improvements.
You're never going to jump to the, well, I don't want to say never, but in the overwhelming majority of time, you're not going to jump to that use case where you've got a dedicated Entra PAW, dedicated On-Prem PAW, and some other whatever, like that's a process. And so the journey via like jump host to PAW is, a phase.
And there are sufficient videos out there that explain the how PAWs work and what you can do. One of the industry leaders, Sami Laho, has a couple of videos out on YouTube, I believe, and one of them is called The Lion's Paw, or Taming the Lion's Paw, something in that order. And he explains it in his unique way.
Yeah. Anytime we talk about PAWs, I always go back to Sean Metcalf's presentations as well too, where people look at CyberArk as this, or any PAM solution as this magical answer to the problem, right?
And there's also the threat model to consider, right? Like that's something, you know, I see a lot of people make this mistake where they're like, they need all of the security things. Like we need PAWs, we need a clean source, we need a micro-segmented environment, we need a red forest, we need tier 0, you know, all this stuff. And they're like, you know, a popsicle stand. It's like what do you think's gonna happen? Like like what are you protecting against? And so I think threat modeling and just really trying to understand the problem you're trying to solve, and then again matching the solutions and the technologies and the capabilities to fit to that, right? Because like all of us on the call probably have all over engineered things before in the past.
Never.
To a detriment.
No.
It's never happened. It's never happened.
No, it never happens. No.
It's like Fight Club. Like first rule Fight Club, you never admit that you've over engineered something.
I would never.
You only go, you know, you get out on the other side of that and you've gone through that experience. You're like, wow, I really probably didn't need to do all of that. Like that was probably just too much. And then you realize like, oh, we should probably like start with the problem, start with the threat model, start with like what we're trying to solve for, and then fit to that. Because PAWs and tier 0 and like micro segmentation and all of the stuff is not right for everybody. I know we've all mentioned it multiple times, but like security, I think, is tough because it is so contextual. Like it's very nuanced in a way. Like the foundationals are true regardless, but like the application of it and the implementation is very nuanced.
It is. If you have a shop for like 100 users, it's very different than an organization for 10,000 users, right? It's a very different dynamics.
Yeah. Walmart is going, you're going to secure Walmart different than you would secure a 4-person law firm. Like exactly. That's just true.
I have this debate with a friend of mine who's like trying to get an MSP off the ground. And as someone in cybersecurity, I hate to ask the question this way, but it boils down to what's good enough, right? Like, you know, do you have MFA and are you patching your things? If you can say yes to both of those, you're somehow better than so many people, right? You don't have to overcomplicate it beyond that. I mean, you can't, well, I guess you probably should in some ways, but, you know, like what's an appropriate level? Because there's diminishing returns at some point in time as well. Too.
Yeah, it's like you can have all the security in the world if you want. If you have janitors that work for your company and they have access to email, they're going to click on links and get your company compromised.
Right.
So like maybe janitors don't need email. I don't know. Just a thought.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and there's an interesting component, right, of like that maybe some people don't pay attention to, right? Because resiliency is a component of security. So at some point in time, you're almost better off investing in a solid backup strategy than implementing more robust controls because, cool, I implemented this awesome PAW solution, but I can't recover my environment from a 0-day ransomware. Have I really achieved some form of risk mitigation? You know,
I know a guy who did a talk about that.
Really? Okay.
Right there. He's right below me on my screen.
Yeah, my B-sides talk was pretty much the first half of it was like how to secure AD, and the first half of it was why don't you have a BCDR solution yet?
Yeah,
it's so funny. I live this. Like I had a client, I did a pen test for a client, and they came back and they're like, "Hey, we want to do like a consulting thing and do like an app locker implementation and some of this like offensive stuff." And I'm like, "Cool, like, but before you do that, like, how about this other stuff over here?" And they're like, "Yeah, our backups are in like Steve's basement." And I'm like,
"Who's Steve?"
I'm like, all right, let's pause on that offensive security stuff for a minute. And so they're working on that, like backups, DR, recovery, like, because that is, to your point, Dennis, like being confident in your resilience is way better than, in my opinion, than implementing a security technology. Like being confident that you can recover and restore and like you're good with that is worth so much more than a single security feature or a tool.
You will have an outage. You will have downtime. Something will need to be recovered. You will probably be breached or hacked. I mean, assume breached. You probably will. But even if you are, you still need the ability to recover. So like that underpins everything. That's kind of where my mind always goes. And how often do you practice? Yes, Brian, you nailed it. Like, yeah. That was not to go on about my talk, but that was my favorite part of the talk is like I asked, a question, who has AD backups? Everybody raises their hand. Who has tested in the last year? All the hands go down.
Oh.
Yeah.
And
I usually ask the question, so how many times a year do you do fire drills? Like, every month or every 2 months. Okay. Do you know the percentage of, do you know the risk percentage that a fire will actually break out in your company? No, it's like 3% or something, or even less. And do you know the percentage of risk for a failed AD and what the implications are? It's way higher. And how many times a year do you do AD backup test or restore test or disaster recovery test? We haven't. Okay, I think I made my point.
I would say suddenly when you ask that question, the fire alarm goes off. So
it hasn't happened yet, but yeah, that could be. That would be a perfect timing. Yeah.
Failure to plan is planning to fail.
Yeah.
Well, so we are at 7 till we're supposed to wrap. So I did this for 90 minutes because last time we did not cover anything in the hour. So I think 90 minutes was better. But I do want to point out that this is kind of apropos because I did do the same poll for our community about AD backups, and not to push it too much, but I did create a merch store for us, and one of the shirts literally has the poll results on the shirt.
So nice.
I'm not wearing that one today. I'm wearing a different one. So, but
can you? I was going to say, can you post a link to that in chat?
Yeah. Yep. I'm actually doing so right now. So I'm putting 3 links in the chat, kind of our conclusion here. I'll even put it on screen in just a second too. But the first link to the YouTube channel, when this is all done, I'm going to do my best to kind of edit just a little bit, just clean it up. Nothing, I'm not going to take any content out, but edit it just a little bit and get it put up on the YouTube channel. The second link is a poll for this meeting. Basically, what'd you think? I want to know what people think. I want to know feedback. I want to know how we can do better, what you liked, what you didn't like, so on and so forth. And then the last one is the Etsy store that I got this all set up in. Right now, it's coming to me. I promise everything that comes out of it's either going to go straight back into this in some way, or I'm going to donate it to somebody because I don't want your money. I just want us to be a community. I try to keep the prices on the shirts as low as I could to keep them close to cost almost, because like I said, I don't want to make money off y'all. Eventually I might try to take it a step further and do something more non-profit-y with it, but I'm not quite there yet. So, but cool. If you're interested in that thing, go for it. But overall, thank you everyone for joining. Like I said, we have 5 till, so we got a little bit more time to chat still, but I want to make sure and say a couple of things before we do that. So, but there are the links that I just talked about in chat. So the YouTube channel, there's a poll, and then there's the merch store. Right now, the YouTube channel, it's just going to have the couple of videos that we've done. I'm debating doing maybe some more, answering some of the questions directly and putting them up there as shorts maybe. But I haven't really gotten that far. I don't want it to be my YouTube channel. I'm not here to promote me. I'm here to promote the community. It's about you guys and not about me. I just happen to be the guy who asked to be mod one time and still doing it. So,
what a guy.
Yeah, it's fun. It's not a bad community. It is really, 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 really not a bad community. It's been super easy to do. So anyway, please fill out the poll. I really appreciate any information you guys give, whatever feedback you have. But ultimately, thank you all for contributing and being part of it. Spence and Michael, you guys rock. Thank you for doing this. I'm so glad you guys can make it.
Appreciate it. Super fun.
Yeah, it is.
And everybody else, thank you too. I always love the feedback and input and conversation. Like I said, we could talk about this stuff all day long. And we will continue to do these. I don't think we're going to do a monthly cadence because that is a lot to prep and plan. So the next one will probably be September, first week of September. But that doesn't mean we can't get together. So if you guys want to do something, let me know, and you can have a even more informal chat if you guys want. I'm okay with that too.
Wicked.
But and as far as the questions go, I will see about trying to get answers to some of these questions. I don't want to leave you all hanging. Awesome. Anyway, I appreciate everyone coming. 3 minutes left. Is there anything else anybody wants to say? And again, thank you, everyone. I'm so happy. These turnouts have been way better than I ever expected. So
this was super great. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for putting this together. Thanks for allowing me to be on camera and talk. And hopefully everybody enjoyed the conversation and kind of banter back and forth. The chat was like very lively. There was times where we were talking and I'd look in chat and there was like a completely different conversation, which
I love it.
Is like, makes sense, right? Because that's like the Reddit community. It's like the main question of the thread, and then there's like all these side conversations that are happening. So that's super fun. But yeah, I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, it's been real fun. By the way, I don't know if you guys can see, I am wearing one of the shirts that I got made.
Nice. So. We're not grumpy, we're defensive. So. Love it.
Like I said, I'm not pushing the merch. I just like, if you guys want it, like you would make my day. I feel so awesome and so cool if like somebody showed up wearing one of my shirts at a conference or something like that.
Oh, I'm totally grabbing some for DEF CON.
So speaking of conferences real quick, I will be at HIP this year, and I'm also going to be at HoboCon in a couple of weeks if anybody's in the KC area doing HoboCon. But I will be at HIP conference later this year. So
nice.
We'll definitely do a sync up there.
I will presenting in Europe somewhere. So if anyone wants to meet up there.
Yeah, for sure. There is a meetup thread. It's not like super fancy. So like if you're going to be somewhere or whatever, just throw it in there and see if anybody else is. I encourage you all to like, there's like a subscribe to a thread. I encourage you all to subscribe to that one. But otherwise, I'm always working on more wiki updates, but definitely, absolutely. Thank you all for being here. This is fun. I love this community. And we'll keep doing it. So look forward to talking to you guys again, either in September or sooner. So thank you all, and I'll get the recording up later today.
Okay. Until next time.
See you guys.
Bye. Thanks.
See ya.
Thank you guys. Bye.